In today's show, another game, another loss. Make it 7 straight for the Blazers, who are rudderless, and the season is slipping away from them. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. If you're listening to the show, please go subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by 2022. That's 2,000 subscribers by New Year's. So if you're listening, go subscribe. I'd appreciate it. In today's show, y'all, the Blazers lose again, 113-103, their 7th consecutive loss. They've lost 10 of their last 11, their one win coming over the Detroit Pistons, the only team in the NBA with a longer losing streak. Shout out to Detroit's 12-game losing streak. The Blazers have lost 6 straight home games. And this one, on the second night of a back-to-back, where they were competitive against the Suns the night before, they just let it get away from them. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about where it went wrong and kind of revisited a classic stat from Locked On Blazers past. And then we'll close out the show with Western Conference tiers, seeing where all the teams in the West stack up and kind of as the Blazers are on this skid and as the Blazers season seems to be slipping away from them a little bit, kind of where they stack up in the West. But first, let's do what we do at this time, the fastest recap in the West. Blazers lose 113-103, and it didn't start great. Blazers committed 10 turnovers in the first quarter and trailed by as many as 16 points, went into the quarter break down 24-19. 10 turnovers, 19 total points, and a 16-point deficit all in the first quarter. Yikes! It didn't really stay that bad. Blazers were more competitive in the second quarter, went into halftime only down 8, 55-47. Quite frankly, uninspiring first half, but to be only down 8 put the Blazers in a pretty good spot, and they took advantage of that pretty good spot. A 23-11 run to open the third quarter, and they built a real live lead. They were up 78-68, a 10-point advantage. They bounced back in the third quarter. I thought they played a really, they came out sharper in the third quarter, more matching physicality. Nurk, who missed some of the first half with some foul trouble, came back in. I thought he played really well to kind of help the Blazers set the tone in that third quarter. They're up 10 with 3 minutes and 45 seconds left in the third quarter. They go into the fourth only up 2. The lead kind of slips away. More on that in a moment. And then, peace out. 14-zip Grizzlies run to open the fourth quarter seals the game. Dillon Brooks hits a three-pointer with 8 minutes and 53 seconds left. Grizzlies are up 94-82. That's your frickin' ball game. That's a 26-4 run in less than 7 minutes. Peace out. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers lose 113-103. That's as good as I got for you. That's your real fastest recap in the West is that sound. Norman Powell leads the Blazers with 25 points, added 6 boards and 5 assists, had 2 steals and 2 blocks. Pack in the box score for Norman Powell, who was the Blazers, maybe the Blazers' best offensive player in this one, but it was really Damian Lillard. Again, more on that in a moment. Avery Simons, 22 points off the bench, got hot late after kind of a slow start to this one. Damian Lillard shot pretty well from 3, 5 of 11, finished with 21 points, 5 boards, and 4 assists, but 5 of 11 from deep, 1 of 10 from 2, including smoking a couple layups down the stretch. 1 of 10 from 2 is that's not a good sign. Like I said, I thought Nurk had a good game. He finished with 16 points and 12 boards, only committed 1 foul after halftime. This was not a bad Nurk night. I thought he was certainly the Blazers' best big in this one. He didn't quite have enough because the Blazers let the game slip away in those final 7 minutes. On the other side, Dillon Brooks set the tone for the Grizzlies. Before the game, I asked Chauncey Billups, the Grizzlies are now 8-1 since Ja Morant has been out of the lineup with an injury and then entering the COVID health and safety protocols. And I asked Chauncey, what do you see from this team? Like how are they, how have they been so good? How have they gone on this run without their best player? Like what's going on? And he said, I think what people are missing is that Dillon Brooks came back, as Ja was, as Ja was leaving the lineup with an injury and now has since been extended absence from the lineup. Like Dillon Brooks came back from his injury and rejoined the lineup, and Chauncey called him his heart and soul. And Taylor Jenkins, the Grizzlies coach, when I asked, referred to Dillon Brooks as their spirit leader. And he kind of has an ugly box score, 6 of 16. 22 points on 16 shots is not like the mark of an incredible night. 2 of 7 from 3, 1 3, and that's a good night shooting. So I don't want to bang on him for like missing a 3, but like the box score doesn't leap out to you. But you watch his minutes. His heart and soul. They went as he went. He finished with 22. Desmond Bane added 23. Steven Adams 10 points, 14 rebounds. Jaren Jackson Jr. a rough night for him, but it didn't matter because Kyle Anderson came off the bench and added 13 points, 11 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. The Grizzlies went a little bit smaller, downsized down the stretch without two giants and just a normal, very big person in Kyle Anderson, who's about 6'10", 6'8", 6'10", but that probably means he's 6'9". The Blazers lost this game when Damian Lillard checked out of the lineup with 4 minutes and 38 seconds in the third quarter. At that point, they're up 6. When he comes back in, they're already down 5, and they're in the midst of this game-changing run. It reminds me of something that we were tracking last season when Yusuf Nurkic and CJ McCollum were down. It was what I call dameless minutes, and it was the minutes that were dameless, the minutes without Dame that the Blazers play, and typically those would decide their fate. Because if the Blazers were outscored when Dame was in the game, if he had a bad night, and I don't think Dame had a super good night. He was, like I said, shot the ball well from 3, but didn't really, had some early turnover troubles. Didn't turn the ball over a bunch, but had a couple bad ones early in that sort of 10 turnover first quarter. And didn't, couldn't really get into a real rhythm. Although he did kind of find a shooting stroke with 5 threes. But you saw it if you watched, you saw it. This was not Dame at his peak. And like, but the point is, like, if Dame's really bad and the Blazers get their ass whooped when Dame's on the court, it doesn't matter. But they didn't. Instead, in 7 minutes in the second half, they lose this game with Dame on the bench. The Dameless minutes typically would determine, when the Blazers don't have their full complement, certainly don't have their second best player in CJ McCollum, like, it'll determine what the outcome is. And tonight, it was the absolute biggest factor. Let's talk about those Dameless minutes. Let's talk about those 9 minutes that he sat. He sat for 9 minutes and 58 seconds in this entire game. He sat for less than 5 minutes in the second half. And the game, it was over. Like, it all fell apart. So that's what we'll do in the second segment, is talk about those Dameless minutes. But first, let me tell you about PrizePicks. It's just the best fantasy DFS prop that there is. It offers more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator, and offers all the superstar players as well as all the players at the end of the bench. I've used PrizePicks. Here's how it works. You can do it for any sport, but I do it for the NBA. You download the app on your phone, or you can also do it on their PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks sets the over-under for points or rebounds or assists or made threes. You go through and you pick players and you pick the over-under lines and you say over or under, and it's just you versus the projected odds. You're not playing against pros. You're not playing against a big field. It's just you versus what PrizePicks chooses, and you wager. You can say, I'm feeling lucky and I'm gonna get all 5 of my picks right, or you can say, oh, I'm just gonna get 2 out of my 5, and you can win based on how lucky you're feeling and how many you get right. It's really fun. I've really enjoyed doing it. I think you will too. So go to their website, prizepicks.com, or download the app. And when you're doing that, use the promo code NBA and you'll get 100% instant match on whatever deposit you make, up to $100. You can do mixed sports. You can bet on football, and then you can bet on the NBA. It's super quick to use. You can put your entries in about 60 seconds. You can make multiple entries a night if you want to mix and match. It's a ton of fun. You can get your money quick. It's safe to deposit and quick withdrawals. So go to prizepicks.com, use that promo code NBA, or go to your app store and download the app today. It's PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy. All right. So we talked fastest recap in the West, and the Blazers lost to the Memphis Grizzlies. But this game really shifted in the 4 minutes and 38 seconds that Damian Lillard sat out at the end of the third quarter and to open the fourth quarter. Dameless minutes, kind of explained in the first segment, but if you're not familiar, it's like just tracking when Dame's on the bench, right? And Dame sat 9 minutes and 58 total seconds in this game. And in those 10 minutes, in those 9 minutes and 58 seconds, the Blazers were outscored by 23 points. They lost the game by 10 when Damian Lillard was plus 13. In 10 minutes, they were outscored by 23. Now, no C.J. McCollum. Dennis Smith Jr. ruled out right before the start of tip-off. He was ruled out with knee soreness. He was not in the injury report. And then Tony Snell missed the game with personal reasons, and that was updated prior to the game, and Dennis was not on the injury report. And then like moments before tip-off, like as maybe before the national anthem, but 10 minutes before the game started, whatever, Blazers send out an update that Dennis Smith Jr. is going to miss the game. So they were missing their other point guard, and I think that's certainly part of it. But 23 points in 10 minutes changed the game. And the game, the moment that it really changed, the Grizzlies basically from the moment that the Blazers got up 10 with under 4 minutes left in the third quarter, they ripped off a 26-4 run, changed the game, blew it open. It started while Dame was still in the game, right? They were up 10. He goes to the bench. They're up 6. They're up 80-74 with 2 minutes and 19 seconds in the third quarter. Now, Dame had played 47 minutes the night before. He played every minute of the second half and all of overtime against Phoenix because the Blazers were going for it and really trying to win. And Dame asked to play, and Chauncey Billups said, "You want to play? I want to trust you. You're my guy. Let's go for it." And he had to answer for it. Billups, reporters, including myself, asked him after the game. We asked him before the game. This was like kind of on Billups' mind, right? And he admitted before the game, like, we'll have to get Dame some rest. His goal is to hit like the 36 minutes with Dame, right? Like a total, like that is a very standard star number. You rest him 6 minutes in each half. They played 36 minutes. That's what stars play in the league. It's a normal number. 40 is too many. 36, 37, totally normal. When you drop guys down that 33, 34 range, then they get mad and start looking at their minutes and say, I should play more. So he says, tonight I'm going to try to play Dame 36 minutes. And so instead of letting him run that whole third quarter, he pulls them out. They're playing. They've built a lead. They're playing well. But this is the job of coaching, right? Is to say like, I got to trust these other dudes on the team that they can execute and they can get us. They can pull us out of this. And so Dame goes to the bench with 2 minutes and 19 seconds in the third quarter. He comes back in with 9 minutes and 51 seconds remaining in the game. That is 4 minutes and 38 seconds on the bench. 4 minutes and 38 seconds on the bench. The Blazers scored 2 points. They were outscored 11-2 in that stretch. And so from up 6 to down 5, it happens fast. 13-2 is the math there. I screwed it up. But like it just was that quick. 5 minutes and the Blazers are totally they've now lost touch. And granted, Dame comes back in the game and the Grizzlies score 7 more points. Like Dame misses a shot. He steps back in the game and misses a little mid-range jumper from the left side at like an 18-footer. And Dillon Brooks hits a 3 and the Grizzlies keep rolling. They score, 7 more points after Dame checks in the game and the game's over. So it's not like, I'm not saying like if Dame's in the game, none of this happens. But the game kind of, it changes in that stretch. In those 5 minutes that Dame has to sit. And why I set it up by talking about the night before is he has to sit those damn minutes. There's a reason why he played the whole second half and the whole against Phoenix, but like he has to sit. There's maybe an argument for shutting Dame down for a much more extended period of time than 5 minutes, but at the very least, he needs to get his 5 or 6 minutes in each half on the bench. And you have to be able to keep the boat in the water during those minutes. You cannot sink. And the Blazers sunk. And like I said, no Dennis Smith Jr., no C.J. McCollum, but that's where Anthony Simons has to take the reins. It's where Norm has to do more than just get downhill and try to score. And it's where Chauncey Billups has to do a better job of getting guys into their spots and what they want to do. Chauncey calls a lot of plays from the sidelines. In the Phoenix game, he's straight up out there directing traffic and telling guys, you go here, you go there. Like if you, I don't know if it's visible on the broadcast, but like from my seats, like Chauncey's really out there putting his stamp on the game, calling a lot of stuff, right? Like getting guys in their spots more so than you ever see in the NBA. Really kind of getting in the alignment. And some of that is maybe attacking mismatches. Some of that is just maybe Chauncey Billups' more hands-on approach, all of those things. But like, if there's any time for him to be super hands-on and them to get into their stuff, it's when Dame's on the bench. After this game, Jason Quick of The Athletic, who's going to be on the show tomorrow, he's going to be on Friday's show, he asked Norman Powell if the team knows the plays. And Norm kind of paused and then politicked a little bit about like, yeah, maybe we do, and we, they're on our iPads so we can learn them, but sometimes we don't execute and blah, blah, blah. The answer to me was like, doesn't always feel like it. That's what I heard from Norm. That's not what the words he said, but what I heard from Norm is like, sheesh, sure doesn't always feel like we know the play. It's like, this is why I said like it's never just players or coaching. I think like the Blazers were missing their point guards and guys to get them in a line, but and I don't think Ant I don't think Ant really ever does a good job of getting them into offense. Ant can really frickin' score though, so the coach could help by getting Ant into a little bit of better spot so he can just go get it. And Ant was really good late in this game, right? Like, but he isn't a natural point guard. It's not his skill set. He still hasn't really developed that, high level reads and high level setup stuff, but he's really good at scoring. That's like the most valuable skill in the league. So that's on the coaching staff. It's never binary. It's never just Ant's fault. It's never just Billups' fault. It's Ant's lack of skill at one particular thing, because it's all micro skills, means the coaching staff has to do more to help Ant maximize what he's good at. This is one of those it's everybody's fault moments, but those 4 minutes and 38 seconds when you're outscored 13-2, that is in the midst of a 26-4 run, like that's half of it right there, right? In less than 7 minutes, the game changes, and 5 of those minutes, Dame's sitting on the bench, and the offense goes just completely ice cold, and they can't get into anything. And because you don't get into anything, you're giving up live rebounds, and you're letting the team run the other way. You commit a couple dumb turnovers in there, like. You let them get rolling, you let them start to feel it, you get their confidence up, and then all of a sudden you're down 12 with 8 minutes left in the game, and you're in scramble mode, right? Like then you need to play near perfect, or at least to get really hot from deep to have a chance. And the Blazers their offense has not been at that consistent level where it's like, well, they're terrifying on offense, like which I kind of assumed they would be. The Dameless minutes determine this game, but they determine this game because of what the players and the coaches in the non-Dame minutes did. You need more from Norm in those minutes, and Norm was really good. You need more from Ant in those minutes, and Ant was really good. Ant was also minus 29 in this game. I think that's a little much, but like the Blazers, Ant is on the court when Dame is sitting, and he had the Blazers were outscored by 29 points in Anthony Simons minutes in a game they lost by 10. Like that's the Dameless minutes were a nightmare, and they're back. There's something we'll track as long as CJ's out. Tonight they were really dramatic, and you saw them. It's and like I said, it's on everybody, and I think Billups needs to own it as much as the players, but I think the players are certainly not without guilt here. They needed more from that bench group, and that's Nas, who was out there, and Larry Nance, who was out there, and Simons and Rocco. Like they were playing with some regulars. It wasn't just like it was Nance, and it wasn't just like it was Ant out there by his lonesome with Keljin Blevins or whatever. Like it was the group of regulars. It was just the group of regulars that aren't Damian Lillard, and their offense absolutely sputtered. And I think that falls on them. It falls on, specifically the backup young guard who's not particularly good at getting the ducks in a row, and Chauncey Billups, who, when he recognizes that Ant or Norm that is not their skills, their scores. How do you maximize your scores? How do you call plays and run plays and if the guys don't know the plays, how do you simplify it and get it so they're getting to what they want to get into? That's a fault of everyone, and it really showed up here. And that's how you lose 7 in a row, is that you lack some skills that are necessary, and you lack the coaching to kind of pull out and maximize the skills you do have. This is how you end up at 11-18, is that a lot of folks are screwing up. And tonight was a night that a lot of folks screwed up. And Damian Lillard wasn't even that good, and they were still plus 13 in his 38 minutes. And the game, and he sits for less than 10 minutes in this game, and they still lose by double digits. It is, they're in quite a difficult place. But that's enough. I didn't mean to do 20 minutes on this game. I was trying to do something else, but this is kind of where we ended up when I was organizing the episode. So thanks for sticking with me. Let's talk about anything else. What we're going to do to close the show is Western Conference tiers. So let's talk about all 15 teams in the Western Conference, where they stack up in my tiers. It's sort of a power rankings, except I'm not ranking them. I'm just putting teams in groups. That's what we'll do to close out the show. But before we do that, let me tell you about Truebill. It is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, you don't want, or you simply forgot about. On average, people are saving hundreds of dollars when they're switching to Truebill, up to $720 a year. And listen, companies make it hard to cancel subscriptions, so Truebill is just going to make it easy for you. All you do is link your accounts, and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And if it's not one tap, your Truebill concierge will cancel them, so you don't have to. You're paying for a service. It's one tap, done. And if it's more than one tap, that's why you're paying money for it, so someone will cancel it for you. It's simple. I have a bunch of digital subscriptions. I'm also someone who has access to this URL right here, which is truebill.com/lockedonnba. So I went there, I signed up for the free trial. I wanted to check it out. It took me 10 minutes from the moment I went to the website, downloaded the app on my phone, and linked up my accounts, looked at all of them. From the moment I downloaded the app to the moment I was looking at all my accounts, less than 15 minutes, probably 10 minutes total. Super easy. So maybe it'll work for you. You can start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now, truebill.com/lockedonnba. It could save you thousands a year. Truebill.com/lockedonnba. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. Still listening, Locked On Blazers. We talked about another bad loss for the Blazers. I'm ready, personally, just between me and you, dear listener, I'm ready to talk about a win. We're closing in on 3 weeks without one of those. They've lost a lot, 10 of 11, and that one win was an uninspiring win against the Pistons without Dame. So I could go for a victory. I could go for a dub. I would love to do one of these podcasts after a win. I miss those wonderful times. So let's move away from the games for a little bit and talk about Western Conference tiers. I've done these in the past, and we're going to bring them back. A listener requested that I bring them back, so I'm bringing them back. That's right. Email me, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. Tell me what you want in the show. I'll put it in. This is simple. This request is like days later. We're talking like 72-hour turnaround on a simple request. But Western Conference tiers. So we're going through every team in the West, putting them in tiers. It's sort of power ranking, but I'm not saying 1 through 15. I'm saying I'm putting them in groups. So our first tier will go from top to bottom because spoiler, the Blazers are towards the bottom. The top is the 3 best teams in the West, and I don't think you can quibble with this. Golden State, Phoenix, and Utah. Those are the 3 best teams in the West. Utah was struggling a little bit, but they've won 8 in a row, and they're terrifying on offense. They're really, really good. And that's without Jordan Clarkson, 6th man of the year, Jordan Clarkson. He has not shot well this year. If Jordan Clarkson gets to start shooting well, Utah's already terrifying offense will be even more terrifying. They don't have a lot of good defenders, but they have the defensive player of the year in the middle. They funnel everything to Gobert. They're terrifying. Golden State's the best team in the NBA. They just are. Steph Curry's going to win MVP. Draymond Green's, if Rudy Gobert doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year, Draymond Green's going to win it. They're great. Phoenix, if they're healthy, when they're healthy, they are, they're a team that played in the NBA Finals last year and had a 2-0 lead in the finals, and they sure as hell look that good again this year. That's your top tier. Your second tier is Memphis and the 2 LA teams, the Clippers and the Lakers. These are teams that I think are likely to avoid the play-in, but they're not close to that top tier. Like, they're not going to be there. I thought the Lakers would be there, and they might end up, when we update this in a couple weeks here, maybe the Lakers will have climbed their way into that tier, assuming good health. If LeBron plays, they're good. When LeBron doesn't play, they're a nightmare. They also barely beat the Luka Doncic list Mavs tonight. No Luka. Luka-less, I think, is maybe the one that I would have stumbled over less. But the Luka-less Mavs tonight, and they needed OT and a crazy Austin Reeves three-pointer to win. Like, the Lakers I thought they were going to be a lot better. The Clippers can't score, but they, no matter what, even without Paul George, that's an elite defensive group. Memphis should not be good, but they've now won 8 of 9 without John Morant in the lineup. They were the worst defense in the league to start the year. They're not that anymore. They're a good defensive team. Desmond Main is just a revelation. Jaren Jackson Jr., who was not good against the Blazers tonight, has really kind of figured it out. And Dylan Brooks is their spirit leader, and he makes them go. That's your second tier: Memphis, the Clippers, and the Lakers. Your third tier is Dallas and Denver, two teams I don't know what to do with. Denver has the best player in the NBA, maybe the best basketball player in the world, in Nikola Jokic, and yet they're a 500 team. A cajillion injuries and all types of stuff, but I don't think they are likely to leap up too many more tiers, but also I don't think they're likely to fall down because their floor is just, if Jokic is on the court, freaking good, and even in the minutes where Jokic is not on the court, freaking bad. But can you survive 12 minutes a night? It's kind of like the Dame stuff. They're there. Dallas, I'm just not a believer in Dallas. I kind of hate their forward rotation. I hate all their non-Luka players. Not hates, that's mean. I like Dorian Finney-Smith and Maxi Kleber. Those are two of my favorite role players in the league. But that roster's not good. They need one more dude who can dribble that isn't Jalen Brunson, and they don't have it. And so what they are is a team with Luka Doncic, and he's really good. And the rest of the roster, every fourth game when Kristaps Porzingis is good, they're a good basketball team. All the other games, they are liable to lose to anyone in the league. That's kind of who they are. Then there's the weird tier. I think that's tier 3. The weird tier is where you find the Portland Trailblazers. It's Minnesota, Sacramento, San Antonio, and Houston, along with your Portland Trailblazers. These are teams some of this group is going to miss the play-in round. There's 8 teams above this group, right? In the top 3 tiers, I have 8 teams. So we're talking about 9 and 10. That means 2 out of this 5-team group is going to miss the play-in round. And I think that's where the Blazers find themselves. I think the Blazers have a better path to make the playoffs than Houston, because Houston's so far back, and at some point Jalen Green's going to come back. And when you play a teenager in the NBA, you're typically bad. So I think Houston is likely to slip, just by virtue of where they're headed, as a team. Their plan is, this is a developmental year for them. They ripped off a bunch of wins, but at some point they're going to have, Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green in the lineup. You play young guys in the league, you're liable to lose. That's just how it works. I think they're likely to slip. San Antonio, good defensive team, terrible offensive team. Sacramento, they're the Kings. The Minnesota Timberwolves occasionally look incredible and have an elite offense. They went nuts tonight from shooting from 3. Anthony Edwards hit 10 threes. Shout out to Ant, number 1, as he calls himself. That they can really get it going on offense. They're one of those teams that fluctuates a bunch. They won 7 of 8, and then they lost 5 in a row. This is what inconsistent teams do. They belong in this tier because they're inconsistent, and the Blazers belong in this tier too. The Blazers are not one of the truly bad teams in the league. They're just not that. That's not what they are. But they're not one of the good teams, right? They're not on the level of Dallas and Denver. They're not there. They're obviously not in that level of the sort of Memphis and the 2 LA teams. They're just not there. Could they climb out of this tier? Yeah. Yes. With health? Yes. But right now they're closer to the tier below than they are to the tier above. In my mind, the Blazers are scuffling. They look bad. I mean, they're just not a good team right now. The bottom of the league is 2 teams. New Orleans Pelicans is a tier 5. New Orleans Pelicans and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Not too much explanation here. The Pelicans thought they were going to be a team that challenged for the playoffs. Looks like, Zion Williamson could potentially miss the whole year with a foot injury. The guard play that they thought they were going to replace with Lonzo Ball and Devontae Graham and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, they're not particularly good. Thomas Satoransky has taken a huge step back, and he's not particularly good. And when you have, Jonas Valanciunas and Brandon Ingram, does not a playoff team make. Those are 2 nice parts, but if you have a bunch of other subpar contributors, inefficient contributors, this is who they are. They thought they were going to be a team built around a superstar all NBA level talent. Instead, they're a team built around, a big Lithuanian center who bombs 3-pointers and Brandon Ingram, who occasionally looks like a really special offensive talent. That's how you end up down there. They're They're talent poor down in New Orleans, and Oklahoma City's intentionally bad. We don't need to spend time on them. Apologies to the homie Ryland Styles of over at Locked On Thunder, but like the Thunder are doing this on purpose. They're playing a bunch of young dudes, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's going to be a superstar in this league, but look at who plays each night. They're intentionally bad. They're doing this on purpose. No beef with that. Go for it. Stack a million picks. Maybe you get it right. This is probably a good path forward for a team in a secondary market who's had to deal with the departures of a bunch of stars. This is as maybe healthy a tank job as you can put together, but it is what it is. It's a tank job nonetheless. They belong in this bottom tier. Those are your tiers. That's 1 through 5. We will do this semi-regularly, once a month, maybe more, when it's time to sort of check in on the West. So like I said, this show can be what you want it to be. Email me, send me a nice note at lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com, and I will incorporate your requests into the show. That's how malleable I am. I want this. Listen, this is for y'all. I got the microphone, and I'm going to do, for the most part, what I want, but I do it for y'all. So if you are a listener who, has some feedback, send it to me. I'll try to incorporate it into the show, and sometimes I'll immediately incorporate it into the show, depending on how the schedule works. That is going to do it for this one. Please go subscribe to the YouTube channel. 2,000 subscribers by New Year's. The only way we can do that is if you, dear listener, who's this deep into the show listening while the Blazers are on a 7-game losing streak, hit the subscribe button. Quite frankly, if you've listened to a half hour of this show at this juncture in the season, you owe it to me. So go ahead and smash that subscribe button, or go to YouTube, find that subscribe button, and then go ahead and smash that one too. Tell your friends about this podcast. They can get it wherever they already get podcasts, on YouTube or wherever you're looking for us. Just search Locked On Blazers. You'll find us then. Tomorrow's show, Jason Quick of The Athletic will join the program. Like we do at this time. It's going to be a ton of fun. Jason doesn't know this, and there's no way he listens to the show, but we're gonna play some games. I got some games and some trivia for Jason, so it'll be an entertaining one. We're not just gonna talk about bad basketball. We're gonna have a little fun with it. So make sure you join it. Join Jason and myself for that one. Talk to you then, all right? Appreciate you listening. Talk to you soon.